Blog Talk Radio.
The motherfucking saga continues.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Blah.
What's up with it, y'all? Man, don't change that down. This your player partner, the legendary Cocaine. And you tuned in live to Off the Cuff Radio. Better not touch that down.
Yeah, this is Cassidy, the hustler. And right now, you listening to the Guillotine. Show them the respect they deserve, man. Off the Cut Radio, man. Y'all already know how they doing it, man. I need y'all to stay tuned. They've been doing it for years, so show them the respect they deserve. And you heard it out of bars, mouth. Easy.
Keep it moving like this. Yo, this your boy Rampage. You're not rocking with the best. With Off the Cuff Radio. Classic. History. Fix your face to all you haters. We off the cuff, baby.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Bonnie Dollars, the Queen of Trap, representing Crenshaw, and you are now tuned in with Off the Cuff Radio. What's up?
What's up, y'all? This is Miss Irresistible, giving a shout-out to the livest show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
What it ain't, what it do. It's Chili Chill from that original Lynch Mob. And Off the Cuff Radio, always where it's at on Friday nights. West, y'all.
Shake it, put them dollar bills. Shake it like it's winter and you gotta chill. Sit down, lift it up, she gon' get you twisted up. If you drop it down hard, bring it up.
You can see from the front what it is in the back. I got that whack. What's the reason that he acts like that? You know, I do. Throw that ass like it's been cycling. Not a pastor, but he call me his first lady. I'm a hot chick, he ain't got no options. Running through his mind and I'm running through his pockets. He thinking the sex gon' be having me unstable. I'm telling you the best is they thoroughbreds. Now they in my table. If I give it to you, then what you gon' do? If you cop one, then cop me one too. Big mama, so you know I need them big timers. Need a big bowl of the white like Miss Carter.
Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it. Booty, oh that booty, put that booty in reverse. Girl, oh that booty, that's a gift and a curse. Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it. Give it to me, give me that, give it to me, give me that, give me, I'ma never give it back.
Boy, my name is Toy, don't play with it. Lock in, whole shit all day with it. And he ain't never gonna leave, he gon' stay with it. Cause he get what he want, I'ma savor it. I feel like you got it, you know how I do. I drop it, you on me, I never stop it. You poppin', I keep it poppin'. My brains, I give you life to get tipsy from when I'm dropping. You know I'm never forgotten.
How could I forget that?
Lovers and friends talking Little John Usher. You gon' have to run a couple tickets before you touch it. If you talking about bands, we can start making plans. I ain't got no OnlyFans, you can be my only fan.
Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it. Booty, you that booty, put that booty in reverse. Girl, do that booty like a gift and a curse. Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it. Give me that, I give it, never give it back.
Won't you be the one I run to? Give me that vitamin D like the sun do. Boy, keep that ring, no wiping, cause you get much more as a side chick.
If your hair long and your ass fat and you got more than $3 in your cash app, girl, throw that ass back, throw that ass back, throw that ass back. You got your own house and your own car, and you single but a man still pay for it. Girl, throw that ass back, throw that ass back, throw that ass back.
If I give it to you, then what you gon' do? If you cop one, then cop me one too.
Alrighty then, we are now tuned in at episode 457, the live is the most direct show
Off the Cuff Radio. I'm your host, King Eric, the Media Assassin, and this show is sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment, Fleetwood and the Cotton Pickers, Core Financial, Jesse Boutique, and I got my host T-Match with the facts in the building.
What it do, y'all. Healthy New Year to everybody listening. This is another Thursday Night Tremendousness of a turn-up that we are so blessed, honored, and privileged that y'all are tuned into. Shout out to our co-host in spirit, a lot of Sandman, Lady Chinchilla. King Eric is the head pilot. I'm the co-pilot of this thing we call Off the Cuff. And King, we had to run this like a daggone audible, like Jim Harbaugh did back in the day with the Bears and Colts. Because we caught this legend on the fly. King, tell everybody the legendary luminaries we got tonight on the show.
Man, let me tell y'all something, man. This lady on the line right now, she paved the way for a lot of y'all emcees to get that bag right now. I'm talking, she came in an era where it was full of spitters. You had to show more than just sex appeal. You also had to show skills. And she held her own in the midst of that class. And she's back with us 2022 with the grace of God, considering what's been going on with the world. Honored to have this legendary MC on the line right now. Without further ado, let's all bring on Sweet Tea for episode 457.
What's up, y'all?
What's going on with you, legend?
What's good?
I mean, look, Sweet Tea, this is in a long and distinguished history of this show we do. We're so honored and privileged to have you on in terms of adding on to our legacy of hip-hop, incredible interviews. You are one of the golden era, golden girls. I mean, this is huge for us. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
And big shout out to Angela Covington to making this happen. This is a great way to start off the new year. And we're going to get this thing started. How's everything going with you tonight?
Everything's good. Just here with y'all tonight, just, chopping it up.
We're blessed. I mean, as we always do about this time, when we get it, we know you got a lot of history to share with us, and we're here for all of it, from her story. Tell us a little bit about, how you started, back in the day, and because your name, Steve, is etched in all of hip-hop royalty, and especially from the females. Of course, Sha Rock, MC Light, Roxanne Shante, Queen Latifah, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I guess we get to it. Tell us about, where you started, and how we've come to this incredible interaction we have today.
Well, just rapping in general started off in Southside Queens. That's where, a lot of us came from. But my first record that I did was with JVJMX. That was the first shot I had going out on the road. We did the record one for the treble. And I got my first chance to go out, like on tour, on shows, with Jekyll and Hyde, Houdini, Run DMCs at that time. And, that was my first experience. When I got with Herbie, I signed to Profile Records, and that's when I did It's My Beat. I got the feeling on the smooth tip. It's like that, y'all. Why Did It Have to Be Me? And all of those songs are on that album, It's Tea Time. So, that happened in the era with, that was a great era, being with idol makers. It was, run by Herbie, production by Herbie Lovebug. It was Salt and Pepper, Kit and Play, Dana Dane, Kwame, me, and Antoinette. So after that,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, go ahead.
So after that, and I got off the Profile deal. I got signed to JMJ, and I did the record What's Up Star that was on the soundtrack to the movie The Show.
1995,
so,
yes.
Yeah. So, we went out on tour and did a few things with that, and then I worked on the album. And in the midst of that, Jam Master Jay and Def Jam separated. And so it kind of just got lost in the whole source of things. And so I separated from the whole situation. And, here I am now. Like, I've always recorded over the years. I always record. And now I'm just, this music here, I've been working with Pudgy the Fat Bastard. And during COVID, and during COVID and maybe just a little bit before that, like we started digging in real deep and doing a lot of songs and finding a sound. And, it was a lot of hard work, and it's still going to be hard work. It's hard work now. But I'm excited. I haven't been excited about putting music out in a long time, even though I would always record. But I love this music, and I'm ready to, I'm ready to share it with everybody.
I think
now,
also,
one thing about it, too. Oh, go ahead, King. Go ahead.
I was going to chime in and say that I think the reason why that you still have a love for it is that you still feel that appreciation. And that's what we wanted to do with our show, is that we want to give people like you that platform to let y'all know that y'all still appreciate it, especially with a new song that you got out right now, which is fire. If COVID won't whack up, we can see that club. We can see that banging in the clubs out there.
Right. And
now,
it's when it comes to rhyming, it's like you would like to think it's something like I can't age out of it. Like it's always in my soul, it's in my heart, and and it's just something that I just love. I love it. I just love it.
And one thing about it, too, with you coming through the era you did, because when we look at that 80s era, of course, 84, 85 is when, of course, hip-hop is really becoming it's not yet the worldwide phenomenon. At that time, of course, Def Jam, LL, Public Enemy, KRS, Kane, of course, can't forget the Juice Crew with Marley Marl, Cool G Rap, Master Ace. So for the first roughly 4 or 5 years of it, hip-hop culture, rap music specifically, it's still a bit of an underground phenomenon. So the music itself, you all are just laying down, because your debut would drop in 88 with On the Smooth Tip. And I still remember that, watching on Rap City back a day with that go-go beat, and you just jam it in the studio. I'm like, you go, boo. Oh, man. So it's like we're seeing the nascent stages and phases of the music in terms of the creativity, the arts, how culture is defined through it. What was it like during that time, seeing all of you coming together? And did you all really know where this thing was headed in terms of, like, this could really be something major for the universe?
Well, by the time we were out, especially in Herbie's camp, like, we were going out. Like, I was doing shows in Scotland. I was in London a lot. I was moving around, so it was out there, Salt and Pepper was going to, like, foreign islands where people just, people owned the island and they had their own rules to do whatever to you if you broke a rule or law. So it was out there. It was definitely out there by that time. But when I was with JVDMX, that was a little bit of a different story. Like, we were still, like, getting in cars and going, driving, getting on the road to get the shows. So I felt a little bit different during that time, But as far as what it has evolved to now, this is where it needed to go to me. Like, it grew, like it really, really grew. And I'm really proud of the fact that it did that. And, like, a lot of these artists are working really, really hard. Like, you can just see it. They just work really hard to get where they're at. And, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And from that level of it, T, because that era, of course, this is called the golden era, which you are, why I said from the beginning, you are a golden girl in this because you would really be one of the ladies of distinction in the game. Of course, we can't, of course, think you know this pioneer as well, DJ Jazzy Joyce. Y'all did a little something together back in the day. So it's like we're seeing everything come out at that time. When you look at the culture now in terms of where it has come to in reference to there's a lot more money being made. Social media has become the engine that has really driven influence. When you look at how it was today in marketing, music, creativity, everything else, how do you compare it in terms of where the art is? Because back in the day, King and myself, we grew up in that era where we had the video shows to watch. We had the magazines to read. We had the physical copies of music to buy. Yes. So our experience is a lot more. Yes, go ahead, please.
It was more controlled. Like, it was controlled. It was, you had to shoot the right pictures with the right photographers to make it in the right magazines. And, like, everything was controlled. Like, you had more of, like, a star kind of status if you were to make these particular books, But now it's just, like, everyone could just break through, coming through the internet. Like, it's just out there. Like, anybody can just try to head start their career, and they don't have to, like, listen to somebody tell them no, or I don't think this is going to be good, or just turning you away when you're trying to be creative. And now you can just put it out there, It's a little bit different.
And when you talk about the pictures and everything, it's so important because when you look at the era of the fashion, the attitude, everything, when we see hip-hop photographers like Ernie Paniccioli, the late, great, legendary Chimo Du, shameless plug for everybody to, because we got a legend tomorrow on the show with John Blasingame of Word Up Magazine. This is like, these are the people, you all, like, came at a time where it was a perfect storm of media and music. Of course, Word Up Magazine being the first publication. The Source will come later on in 88. Shout out to Dave Mays and John Schechter. Double XL was started in 1997. We're still not even mentioning Black Beat, Spice Magazine and all the others. So it's like the whole element of during this time is like just golden. Just tell us,
I'm going to tell you something.
Go ahead, Boo. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to tell you something, because when you mention Ernie's name, it's like, I remember I was, I was looking on the internet, and I saw this picture, and it was from on a Smooth Tip video. And I said, well, where did this picture come from? And so I clicked on it, and, you know, there was a whole bunch of images, like an entire photo shoot from the On the Smooth Tip video. And I don't know, I was so emotional because I said, I didn't think that it was captured. He just unleashed this whole photo shoot within the last year, and I was stunned. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that it was even captured. Like, just me looking all innocent in front of this camera, like, what are we doing? You know? And, you know, rocking my styled out little jeans with feet on the butt that I, you know, threw together for the video. It's just like, I was stunned, and I had to reach out to him because I really wanted to just say thank you for, like, putting those images out, because I didn't know it was captured at all, you know? And I think he had quite a few of my moments captured. Ernie and I spent a lot of time together, and he's really cool with my aunt as well. And he did a lot. He shot a lot of things. I don't even remember him shooting at that video, but he did.
And I think that's why when we look at that era, we have such a reverence for it. One thing about it is that, you know, they say in terms of history to, you know, to make it is because you contribute. Legendary is when history cannot be talked about without your name in it. And I think that fits you and so many others in that aspect, because you really helped to define. And I mean, and the thing is, the energy was just different back then, because we're looking at the spontaneity, the creative freedom. Some of the pictures, everything just seems so organic, like that iconic picture, you know, with Salt and Pepper, you know, DJ Jazzy Jeff. You know, I think Flavor Flav was in that picture too. You know, it was just like, you know, it was just, oh God, I mean, the energy was just unbelievable back then in terms of what was going on during that time.
You got to look at it too. This was way before corporations was involved. This is where big money was involved. It was more so like brotherhood and sisterhood. Everybody just came together and made good music.
Yeah, we all. One of our places where we were together a lot was Latin Quarters. It's like that was like a big meeting spot for that particular area that we're talking about. Like, all of us, Kane, Biz, me, like on a weekly basis, we were there, just doing different things, just creating it as we went along, you know. And the Latin Quarters really played a big part in the vibe at that time.
What was the club scene like back then, where like the Tunnel, Latin Quarters, all those spots? You know, King is from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia. You know, we were too young, obviously, to get in those spots back in the day. What was it like in terms of that club atmosphere and the street atmosphere back then, in terms of really having your name out there bubbling, where people were like really recognizing what you were doing?
You know, the club scene was hot. You know, it was really hot. It's, you know, you went in there, and when you just went in there, just would hear all those records banging in there. It was, you know, because of course, you know, you had those systems, and I mean, the systems in the clubs were still good, but you know, those were some real bass heavy records, you know. So, you know, you just felt that pumping through your chest, like when you were in the party. It was a great time. It was a great time. You came there to dance. You came there to party. You know, you came there to hear the new record that might come on when you're there. You know, so it was a good time. It was definitely a good time.
And everything was so organic back then. Now, I wanted to shoot this to you. Now, what was your feeling like when you first heard your first song on the radio? Like, when you first heard radio play your single, like, what was your reaction to that?
I was excited. I definitely was excited. I was like, okay, here we go. It was dampened a little bit by, I'm not going to say the DJ's name because he has apologized over and over again, and he said to me that I should have never said anything like that to you girls, because apparently he asked, Jazzy Joyce asked about the record, and he said he didn't like it. And then, of course, she told me, and it really hurt at first. But he ended up being the biggest supporter and playing the record nonstop along with everybody else. I'm talking about It's My Beat. And he said, I was young too. I mean, he didn't wait years and years to say this to me. He said it to me back then. But, just I guess being young, he was like, I would never say that to an artist again. Because it could have put your light out. And he was like, I was really, really wrong for saying that. So it had I had some nervous feelings as well when the record was playing, because when I heard that from him, it made me feel like, oh my God, the record's not going to do good, But I love him to death, and he's been one of my biggest supporters all these years. But yeah, so it was nervous. I was happy. And then just being under the umbrella, just being with Herbie, just his energy, it was like, we're going to do this. And there was, his energy was crazy. So, you didn't have time to do anything but, keep working, keep writing, keep getting yourself together,
Now, when you mention Herbie Lovebug, T, this man is for all of our listeners out there, Herbie is the legend. This man is the phantom ghost of genius, of mad genius in the game, because, it's he did what he did. Herbie Azor did what he did, and then the man disappeared like a wind in the night. The man, but the impact that this man made with Kwame, yourself, Salt and Pepper, this man, in terms of what he did, because on this show we also love to share the history from people who were there. How important was Herbie to that movement you all started during that time? Because this man, to me, is damn it, we're putting it out on Off the Cuff right now on January 6, 2022. They need to make a movie about that guy.
Yeah, we definitely just before COVID, the whole crew, we started everything, the LLCs, everything to do the documentary of, because we were called Idol Makers. That was the name of the camp. And so we've been trying to get together to just do the story. And so, when COVID fell, everything went a little awry. But I believe hopefully this spring sometimes we'll pick back up on it and get it done. I'm actually working on my documentary, getting ready to start working on my documentary as well. So that's just going to get done.
And one thing about it with you, T, because you said you never stopped doing music all these years. Of course, What's Up Star off the that once again, our nostalgia is going to have a bias here. For those that have not listened to the show soundtrack, do yourself a favor and listen to it. Shout out to South Central Cartel, who we've interviewed a couple times on this show. Havoc and Prodigy, Cali Pitts, the whole crew. Of course, you just bombed it. With, of course, What's Up Star, because it's you know, for heads like us that had really known about you, we heard you, and it's like, you know, it had been some years, but you had not missed a beat at all. You know, I mean, Bone Thugs, when they did Everyday Thing, I mean, that soundtrack is one of the best, I mean, that's one of the greatest soundtracks of the 90s. Yeah.
On all still, north, south, east, west.
How did you get approached to do your song
for a long... Well, when I got signed to JMJ, let me backtrack this a little bit. When Jam Master Jay heard my demo, I had started AKing my name. You know, like all the other rappers got, like, you know, other names they call themselves other than, you know, Kanye, Yeezy, you know, whatever. Everybody, you know, have different names. I said to myself, oh. So I started AKAing myself in the songs and calling myself Sugar in the records, right?
Got
this particular set of records I had. So Jay heard the demo, and you know, he was told it was me. But then when he decided he wanted to start playing it for people, he didn't want to tell anybody it was me. Only because at that particular time, it seemed like that was probably the roughest years for the people in the generation before, because they were kind of like saying, y'all ain't it type of thing. And it was kind of rough for us for a second. And so he said, yo, we're going to call you Sugar. So even when he did when I met with Russell, when he put the meeting together with Russell, he told Russell my name was Sugar. So he was like, okay, I want to meet her, you know, because I already knew Russell. So when I walked in the door and he saw it was me, he laughed, you know, and we talked for a few minutes, and then he was like, yo, Jay, just sign her, you know. However, that show soundtrack was coming in, and Russell wanted that song for the soundtrack. He immediately took the song that was on my demo. He immediately took that and put it on the soundtrack. And it was like, work on your album, but we're going to put this song in the soundtrack to start pushing you forward.
Now, T, what was it like during that era in reference to, because when you look at that time frame, soundtracks were like, a movie is one thing, but a soundtrack was almost in its own universe. When we look at some of the soundtracks like House Party, when we look at soundtracks like Fresh, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, Above the Rim, you know, Juice, you know, these stand on their own merits. And the one thing about it that always blows us away to this day, T, is how it seemed like so natural. Like, it was when you look at the listings, the track listings, and the people who were on it, it's like, wow, they had to move mountains to get all these people. But when you get them together, it becomes something great. What was the process in terms of, during that time, soundtracks in terms of placements, and then just in general with albums, getting people for securing guest appearances, studio time, all of that?
Well, when I started working on the album, like some of the people, like I did a song with Cheek, I mean, you know, the Lost Boys, Cheek and Ty, both of them, before, and that it never came out. I had a song with Lauryn Hill. I had a song with, there was a couple of appearances I had on the songs. Amel LaRue, I had her on the record.
From the Groove Theory, yes. With Groove Theory, yes.
Yeah. She did that on a song. And then a couple of other people that I just thought were hot. Had a song with 50. So there was I had a group of people already kind of, you know, on that project, but the project never surfaced. So, you know, never surfaced. But so it wasn't, you know, it's like when it was people you knew, it was a little easier to start getting, you know, people to come and do records with you, you know.
I mean, but it's like,
it's easy. It's like it's easy to get the people that you know, the support that came up with you, but getting that ball rolling and reaching out, that takes a process.
Mhm. But now, what I like about now is that it's probably a little harder to get the features right now. It might be, but I'm gonna keep dropping music until either people are ready to do features with me, and we're gonna rock or what. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm when people ask me who do you want to do songs with, it's gonna come to me. You know, if it's meant for me to have, it's gonna come to me. So I'm just gonna focus on getting my music out there, and we'll see what goes on with the features. You know, as I move on.
Now, in terms of how you move with the music from that time, Keith, because you're naming a lot of heavy hitters during that time. Of course, you know, Amel, of course, when she was one half of Group Theory, she with Bryce, they were doing their thing. I mean, This is Lauryn Hill, you know, presuming, well, actually not even presuming, because their first album, Blended on Reality, came out in 1994. You know, of course, you know, the album was kind of, you know, milling around before the Salam Remy remix of Nappy, you know, Heads, and that's what really turned it around. It was set the tone for 1996 with The Score. We're still, you know what I mean, of course, you know that kid, you know, Curtis Jackson from Southside Jamaica, Queens, you know, this is before he's on the N2 Deep soundtrack, years before, you know, before he drops How to Rob, you know, so I mean, you're meeting all of these people that will become legends in the game. What did you learn in terms of seeing the talent before everybody else, before the whole world got to see that talent?
Wait, say that again?
I said, what did you learn in terms of watching artists? What was it like to see these artists with these tremendously abundant gifts before the whole world saw? Because you were working with these people before their shit really got like out there. So you got to see it from the very beginning. What was that like?
It was great. It's like it's probably quite a few, you know, that will like that I saw it coming, and like 50 was one of them. I told him every time like we would just be moving around together and doing things, I just kept telling him, "Don't worry, you're gonna be a star," and I always told him that, you know, because I just knew it with him. You know, I knew it with him. I told LL that. I told Big Daddy Kane that. Like, I knew, you know, that they were going to blow. You know? I definitely knew. And it's great. Like, and then, you know, Sharice from Changing Faces, she was on the my Why Did It Have to Be Me record, you know? And but she was amazing. She was amazing. I knew, like, you know, she was gonna do her thing. She was amazing.
I swear, her and Cassandra. Oh man, her and Cassandra with that debut album. Oh my! When we first heard, I think that joint from Changing Faces debut in '93, '94, when they dropped, you know, "Stroke You Up" is a joint that everybody knows. But I tell anybody, if you want to go deep in that deep album cut, if you want to go in that bag, listen to All Is Not Gone. Oh, my God. I swear them girls was anointed on that track, the way they belted it out. Whoo.
The first album was cold, man.
Sharice still sings like nobody's business. She like, Sharice, that girl is something else.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, but, I mean, so you mentioned LL too, T. So, you know, we got to ask you this. The doing it on the, how did that happen with you getting that feature? Because once again, we were just shocked to hear you up there. I mean, you know, basically you and Uncle L are like trading, you know, the game of how you're gonna get it. We're gonna give it to you. That y'all gonna give it to each other. And the chemistry was just bananas. How did that happen?
Wait a minute. I don't have a song with
I thought that was you that was on the doing. I thought that was you that did the. If it's not my mistake, journal editorial error, my fault.
No, that's okay. Oh. That's all right. I wish I was doing the song with.
Because I heard for the longest that was you on. I heard you for the longest that was you on that. Okay, all right.
What you talking about?
Got you.
That record?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh no. If that would have been you that saw me in that video.
Okay, got you.
Her name is LaShawn.
LaShawn.
Yeah,
Okay, got
yeah.
you. Okay, got you. All right,
And that was originally her song.
Oh,
she
wow.
Did it the
okay,
first
so we
time.
get history.
She did it the first time in the early 80s with us, because I did a show with her. I think it's Apollo somewhere. I did a show with her, and I think if I'm not mistaken, no, she got pregnant and then kind of like I don't know what happened to her, and then she came and then Elle did the record again. So it was originally her record.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So even in the flub fumble, we still get some dope history out of them. Now we've seen situations like that before in the industry where an artist has a song that is initially theirs, and then the label decides to flip it at another level where they're like, okay, this was yours, but now we think this could work for somebody else. When you've been in the,
it was almost like 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was almost like a remix. Like he went into the crates and took a sample out, because it was years later that he did the record. I don't know if it was 10 years, but it was years later when he redid the record. So he pulled it out the crate. You know what I'm saying? It was going to pull out the crate deal.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, so you said back in the day you saw LL really like becoming a star. Now, people got to understand how young he was when he started on Def Jam. He was not only their first artist, but he was like 15 years old when he got there. And he was already an actor. He was in the movie Wildcats with Goldie Hawn. So L was kind of already moving at the time. Now we're seeing him
from Queens.
as yeah. So what was it like growing up with these guys? Of course, seeing Run DMC around the way, L, of course, Ja Rule, and all of them would come later on. Irv Gotti, with the Murderers, they would all come later. You got Farmers, Hollis, all of that. So, what was it like just having that pedigree of legendary coming out of there? Just having all of these people it just seems like during that time, everybody from QB to Queens was just like, from QB houses to Queens to Brooklyn, everybody was taking their claim out there.
Mhm. We were just living our lives. We were just living our lives. We just had to be where we had to be. We were just doing shows. We were just,
So what was it like in terms of actually getting signed? What was the process in terms of vetting? What was it like in reference to all the things now that a lot of these, because we see the divide now, T, where because of social media, it has become a lot easier for artists to get their name out there, with the videos. I remember back in the day, if you got a video shoot, that was like a really big deal, for the resources, getting signed was a big deal, all of that, and the promotions. But, you had to go through a lot of obstacles in terms of when a label was going to put money behind you, that you had to be right. When you look at that time then and today, what is the trajectory? What are the just what was it like in terms of what you all had to go through and how you see the game today in terms of how artists are coming in?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it really seemed like it was much easier because the machine was you just had an itinerary. Like my manager now is trying to emulate that and send me itineraries of things. This is what you have to do this week. So he's trying to give me some sort of normalcy of an itinerary of things to do, because it's you had people that just did, just told you where you had to be, and that was it. And now it's like you gotta not only work on your creativity, you have to think about a whole bunch of other things as well, to move things forward. Now, some of it is good because if you come up with something creative, you don't have to run it past somebody and tell you yes or no. You could just
put it right on the internet. You can just put it right out there, which is
right.
a good thing. You're not as restrained as as we were then, but there was definitely some pluses to being on a label, as opposed to trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah, and
what else is different too from today? I don't know. I remember this time too. I remember when they used to do the album release parties. They used to have everybody involved. They used to everybody in the industry involved. They used to make it like a big, phenomenal event was going to take place. It was clever marketing at that time. I mean, you would think it was like a big blockbuster event was going to come. Nowadays it's kind of weird. They just drop the album on the net. It's on streaming sites. The next thing you know, it's forgotten about the next day.
Yeah. But when you listen to some artist stories, they'll tell you that that they have like this catalog of songs sitting somewhere, and somehow like one song just took off. Like some big songs that are out now were one thing, but really on the internet, they had already been dropped. But then I don't know, it's really fickle. It's really fickle how things work now, but. We're going to try to, do what we got to do. I'm going to drop an EP in the next couple of months. We haven't secured a date yet. We're picking the songs now, but I keep going in and recording more songs, so we keep updating. But we're going to put out an EP so that people can hear like a few different songs, and we're definitely continuing to work Don't Play With It because, that that's a song worth like pushing. So we're going to keep working on that as well.
With a lot of the new females coming out today, T, such as Cardi, Megan, Cam, and China. Shout out to them and the Tremendous Twins from Inglewood, of course. Big Lotto, City Girls.
Hello.
Of course. Well, yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the whole thing shut down for a second.
Okay. With a lot of the new female artists coming in, like, Cam and China from Inglewood, California, of course, Cardi from New York, City Girls from Miami, Lotto from Atlanta, Megan from Houston. Of course, and we got to throw Doja Cat in there, too, because she is just ridiculously talented from L.A. Go ahead, please.
I just said she's off the chain. Now finish your question.
But how do you feel about this new? And I can't forget Rhapsody. We cannot forget Rhapsody. Oh, we would be remiss to forget Rhapsody, Jean Grey. What is it like seeing this whole new wave of female MCs coming in, carrying on tradition that you and the ladies along with you laid down?
Well, I'm glad that there are some folks, because for a minute it was a little scary because I was like, where are the girls? A few years ago, when there was a rap category and they started almost putting singers in the category, I was like, Nicki Minaj. And, they started putting other people singers that might have bust a rhyme on a song in categories because where were the female MCs? I was getting nervous for a minute. So.
Now, during that time, what was it like for the women to really be taken serious in the business? Because you all were the first wave. Yo-Yo, Lauren, when she really started to really, set off on it, Lachey, of course, Master A's wife, she would come later on as well. What was it like during that time for women to find their place in the game and to be taken seriously among their male contemporaries as serious artists?
It cut out again. Answer me that question one more time.
Sure. during that time, because you were among the first wave, along with Latifah, Light, you know, Salt and Pepper, you know, and for that next wave with Lauren, Lachey, you know, and all of them. What was it like for y'all coming along during that time in terms of females getting respect in the game and being taken seriously along with your male contemporaries for what y'all were doing? Was there any obstacles, or was it pretty much y'all were welcomed in, you know, doing what y'all were doing?
Yeah, you know, I don't know whether it was. I don't particularly have a struggle story.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's because I was with Herbie and, like, unlike the other camps, the biggest group in Herbie's camp was a female group.
Got you.
So we moved. It was girl power all over the place. What we had going on. You know, I did a lot of shows, and even when I went out, even before my album dropped, and I was just doing shows, it was like, you know, there was a lot of particular promoters that was, you know, saying, hey, we got to have a girl on the show. I did a lot of shows with the guys, and it would just be me, and the promoter would be like, all right, we're going to let them stay at a hotel up, and we're going to put y'all over here. You know, so I was always okay, you know. So I think I probably had a different experience than a lot of the other ladies, because in their camps, the biggest group was probably a male group, you know, or, you know, if it wasn't them, it was male dominated camp. Mine was
right.
the biggest female rap artist was in my camp. So I don't really have a struggle story about being a female and doing the rap thing.
I mean, and that's dope, because I think that was what we really, really enjoyed. When we look at it just seemed like when we would just watch the videos and hear the songs, it just seemed like it was just a seamless, you know, whether we were listening to Moni Loves, Moni in the Middle, you know, whether we were listening, you know, the X-Clan, you know, to the East Blackwards. I mean, it's like, I think when we look at our era of music, of hip-hop culture, and a lot of people lament today, see the state of affairs with it. We love the culture for what it is. We don't have nothing against a lot of the new rappers out, but we feel like it's just changed in terms of what's being marketed. And I think that's why, for us being in the older generation, we feel a certain way about it today, because in our generation, we listened to everything. You know, we had a balance. And now it's like there's just an overabundance of a lot of drug influence, a lot of non-sensible, non-lyrical, which is not indicative of the culture, because the history and the culture of hip-hop is way too rich to be marginalized by mediocrity. But yet and still, we're seeing today a lot of the music that is being pushed is not the best representation of it. How do you feel about that today?
Well, I feel like I'm going to take part in the responsibility with probably my whole generation and a couple of other generations need to raise their hands, because we glorified the drugs and the drug dealing and all that stuff, and they watched that. So, and we, you know, it probably got served to the parents of the kids of whoever's on drugs, and so there was parts that the generations played in. This is what they know. This is their reality. This is what they're talking about right now, and they didn't pluck that out. They didn't pluck those experiences out the sky. Just like, you know, when people used to ask me, you know, because remember there was a big thing before that when men would call women bitches on records or hoes or whatever on records. And, you know, my answer was always to that was, well, listen, I'm out on tour. So I see the people that they're talking about, okay, doing these things that they're talking about. So I'm not taking it in any kind of way, because they're not talking about me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I see where they're getting the stories from to even make these records. You know, it's this, whole that. I see the girls doing these things. You know what I'm saying? Because there was no cameras back then. There was no cameras back then. There was no way to, you know, get them on film like they can now. Broads were doing all kinds of things, you know? And so everything, there's a reason for the way the things that they're talking about. We made it look cute with all the jewelry and the gold. Who started that? They didn't start that. They didn't start that. We did. Mm-hmm. You had to have all your gold chains on your neck and all of these things, and, you know, be on the records and all that stuff. Like, they just got more diamonds in their stuff now than we did in ours. We were more gold, you know? But it came from somewhere. It came from somewhere. So, you know, I just listen to what they're talking about. You know, it is what it is. You know, my mother and them didn't appreciate what we were talking about. They were like, "Why are you taking our records and singing, putting that, rhyming on top of Barry White and all of that?" They didn't like what we was doing. Right? You remember that?
Right.
Remember
yeah, I mean.
Shit off? Oh, okay. Turn that shit down.
Yeah.
Turn it off. You know? Yeah. So they didn't like what we was doing. So, and then now we're not liking what they're doing. You know, not we, but I'm not in that group. You know? But, you know, it's funny how you know, when I talk to some people, and I say it's funny how you forget how the older people didn't like our stuff. So now you're just doing the same thing. It's okay. You know, it's all right.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah, no idea is real. There's nothing new under the sun. It's about how it's done.
Huh?
I was just saying that at the end of the day, it's no ideas original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's not what it's done, it's how it's done.
Right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when we look at the fashion, you know, it's funny how a lot of times things come back around to a degree because everybody kind of has their own, you know, it's wild because the retro fashions that y'all rock back in the day, a lot of young kids today are rocking, you know, in a similar fashion. So it all comes back around from that retro, which I think is great because it pays homage to those that really set the trend.
Right.
And I think if anything, and we talked about this on the hundreds of shows that we've done about how we have some artists that don't always like, today we don't, and it's not all the new artists, but there's some artists that don't want to, you know, give respect to the legends that came before. And it's like, you know, a lot of times they feel like because of where they came through the social media, as we all reiterate, back in the day, you really had to do the work to get in. And now, you know, and one thing about it, you definitely couldn't go out there looking crazy doing something stupid, you know, back then. I mean, God, imagine somebody in the 80s and 90s era just doing something just totally batshit whack just to get attention. They would have been laughed out of the game. But it's like, now we're seeing stuff where a lot of these, young people.
We had some.
Oh, tell us the story.
We had some bugged out records that hit the top of the charts. You know, people. You know, I mean, maybe it doesn't look as colorful and crazy as some of the younger artists, but we had, you know, some bugged out records that's like, how did he get? You know, remember what's that guy? Daha. How did he? What?
Yeah, Rapid Duke.
What? Excuse me? Like, it's probably quite a couple of more I could name. A few people that these records just went all kinds of places. And, you know, and I love that record too.
Nice,
you know,
baby.
I can still sing to that song too. See?
I'm going to go deeper the bag, T. And I can only say this because your man's actually did this on the record with Pudgy when he did the joint Mommy Dearest. And I first heard that, we were like, whoa. After we heard that, we were just like, dead silent. We were like, did he just really say that on wax? We were like,
yeah.
We were like, man.
White records got a lot of white records, especially in the 80s and 90s, got a lot of passes. But I think the difference is between then and now, And see, we looked at them as novelty records. Like, we were like, okay, we ain't gonna put them top 10 or top 20.
Yeah.
The machine is putting these weirdos in the top 10 and the top 20. Next to the Rakims and the Kanes and the Cool G Raps and all them. This is where I think you start seeing the divide.
Right. But I'm going to tell you what hurts me the most about what's going on is that this is something that we kind of like you said, we are the legends. We started this, and so many of them don't respect what's going on now. But then you want them to respect us. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. And so here we are. We got this thing that we created, and we have to look divided. Them rock bands and all them white people, they're not divided like that. They're not. They show respect. They're not divided like that. But then a lot of it starts from like I don't know how many times when I hear some of the golden era, oh yeah, that whack shit they doing now, or the bibbidi blah, oh I can't understand, oh they mumbling, oh this is whack, and they do all of that, and I'm like, but you want them to respect you. But then you want them to be like, oh, they not looking out, or they not paying homage, and oh, they not putting us on record. But you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
Yeah. And that's
so if we're the adults of rap, like, why? What's up? Why are we not showing them different to make them want to be like, Dad? You know what? I would say fuck y'all too.
Yeah, they're
if I was
young,
I'm getting my money. I'm good.
And see, I think another problem is if a lot of the people that's going to take that stance, what are you going to bring in return to counter that? Like, what's the hottest guy? What's the dopest guy out there that you can build up and you can promote or put some money behind? Because I know a lot of people that were saying this stuff. They got chips behind them. They could have developed and helped the talent out there. But a lot of them just want to complain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's like, And so
go ahead,
just for me, I'm a personally play my position, and do what I have to do. Hopefully, I will continue to meet, these great artists, and just ride it till the wheels fall off, and that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do.
And I think, and one thing, yeah.
Hey, I don't know if y'all talked about this because I had to step out for a minute. But I found something interesting about you that was pretty cool to bring up, and it was about what Queen Latifah wrote about you in her book, Ladies First, about how she was an inspiration. You was an inspiration to her.
Yeah. I was. I love her to pieces and to the end for that, because she probably captured like my biggest night, and because I did Soul Train, but none of that was as big as that night was, and she described that night in that book, and I was like, unbelievable. We went to it, and it was at Latin Quarters. Jazzy Joyce and I had a show at Latin Quarters, and we pulled up, and the line was like down the block, around the block, the marquee was off. And we were like, oh, my God, like, is this the right night? Like, what's going on? And so Harry said, hold on. He got out the limousine or whatever and went in, inside. And he came back out and he said, the place is packed to the ceiling. They had to turn the marquee off. And the people are just standing outside, but they're not going to be able to get in. So, of course, me and Joyce were like, oh, my God, And we went in and, did our show, and then they had to have us back the next week to do it again. And it was like she was there because that's what she wrote about, was that night. And I was like, I love her to pieces for that. you know.
I mean, to see Dana to do what she did over the years. I mean, for what she did, rapping was one thing. When she first got her movie role in Jungle Fever, we just saw a hint of it. You know, when she played the waitress. But I mean, of course, when she starts to like really get into it, when she starts, of course, then she, then she also, that same year, 1990, she makes that appearance on The Fresh Prince. And then she does her, then she
Living Single.
So we're like, wait a minute. Queen can act,
y'all gotta bring up Juice though, where she told Flex that she couldn't scratch.
Where she was the promoter. The club.
She did what?
And then of course, when she was in, we
was talking about when Queen Latifah was in Juice, where she told Flex Washington that his mixing was terrible.
So that jersey came out of her quick, and when she did that role where dude got disrespectful in that, and it was a movie, but when she spazzed out on him, when dude, she's like, no, you did not. She just let that jersey out. I was like, yo. And then of course we haven't even gotten into Living Single yet, which was like an iconic TV show. I mean,
I watch it almost every morning still. In the morning,
of course,
it's
what
like
she was doing with Flavor Unit Records, Roll with the Flavor. I mean, Queen is like, and then having her own talk show, then becoming like this movie star legend. I'm like, God, this woman is just, Dana is just dynamite. Oh my God.
Yeah. But you know what? The one thing about it is I love all of that, but I'm just sad that, she just doesn't do the hip-hop circuit because, it used to be me, her, Light. Like, we were, we did a lot of, shows together, and we just, moved around. It was a little crew, and then, but now, I just did the Tom Joyner cruise, like, I think, like, they just before COVID hit, and the spring before COVID hit. And, Light was on the show, JJ Fad, Rage, and there was a couple of others on the show, Sunshine Anderson. So, I get to see Light is what I'm trying to say, but Latifah doesn't come on the circuit much. And, I miss that, I miss her, would love to bump into her like I bump into everybody, when we're doing shows together.
And, one thing about it, T, it's wild because this is one reason we love doing shows like this, because we get to acknowledge the legends. We're always ready to talk to those people who are such a big part of our nostalgia and a part of the history. And when we look at the transition, because, when I say this, I'm saying this in the context of it. When we look at a lot of these luminaries from that era, Daryl Chill Mitchell, he got into acting. LL became an accomplice. Ice-T, we saw Pop before he died really get into acting and doing it at a high level. So we were looking at, LL, a lot of people, forget he was in The Hard Way with James Woods and Michael J. Fox. He was in, Toys with Robin Williams. We're seeing during this era all of that, all of the rappers who are pretty much, as we call in show business, setting up for the second act, in terms of what is going after, they decide, after music, when the music may slow down. Because depending on who you are, you never stop doing it. It's just, it may not necessarily be an opportunity to do it, which you're always looking to do the next thing. So that's when we started seeing the transition with a lot. Ice Cube, of course, when he started doing more movies and such. He did Friday.
We could go on and on, I tell you. But I have to prepare for another interview tonight. I have another one in a few minutes. And I really had a great time.
T, we love you. We appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. And my social media is Sweet Tea the MC, SWEETTEE the MC, on all platforms. But don't play with it. Featuring Pudgy the Fat Bastard. You can download it, please. And if you want to do any bookings or anything, it's also sweetteathamc@gmail.com.
T, check your IG because I dropped something in your box for you. I think you'll get a kick out of it once you see it. It's a good thing.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
It's good.
It's a good thing. It's good. It's good. We don't run a renegade outfit at Off the Cuff. Where we get crazy, we get off the cuff. We're always when we send our guest stuff, it's stuff that is a memento, nostalgia. That it's like to let you know we ain't forgot, and we want you to remember that we haven't forgotten you. So, T, this has been an honor. This has been incredible. Thank you so much. Like I said, come back anytime you're ready to come on, and we'll pick up from this.
Definitely, we
absolutely
enjoyed it too.
I'll definitely come back soon. Absolutely.
Appreciate you, lady. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too.
Sign up out of here.
Bye-bye.
So tomorrow night, same time, same channel.
Yeah, we out.